We're coming to the end of 2024, and today we'll be going through a bunch of Scarlet and Violet era cards to pick up for the final pickup of the year. Now, this year we went through a whole bunch of cards each and every month that are really good cards to pick up to either invest in, grade, and hopefully get a good return in the future, or even just grabbing hold of cards that you may be missing from your collections or master sets that are great pickups because they've either been dropping in price or they're starting to climb and you want to get them before they reach their really high spikes. So today we're looking at Pokédea.io at a bunch of cards from Scarlet and Violet era. So let's get into it. Okay, first card we're looking at today is the Mewtwo promo. This is the promo from the 151 UPC. Now, the UPC itself has been going up in price, not only over in the US, but over here in the UK as well. We're looking over £200 for the UPC now. It is going up to the moon. It is doing really well. And the promos themselves are also doing well. Last time, I believe, when we did this, or maybe the time before, we talked about the Mew promo from the 151 UPC, which is a huge fan favorite and is the most expensive promo out of the box. The metal card Mew, the golden Mew, isn't that great, but the Mewtwo itself is doing relatively well. Now, in the grand scheme of things, it's still a relatively cheap promo to pick up. We're looking at under $10 or around $10. I mean, over here in the UK, you can pick up for probably around about £8, which actually isn't too bad. First things first, I mean, the artwork is absolutely incredible. And we look at the PSA price, right? When we look at something like this, we want to look at the cost of it and the movements and where it is graded, right? Some of these promos are very good to get graded. Like we saw the Charizard UPC promos go for an insane price tag now in a PSA 10. You know, for the whole collection of 3, you're looking at about $400, which is very impressive. So at the Mewtwo, we got $87 for a PSA 10, and you're looking around $19 for a PSA 9. So, you know, with the cost of grading, the value of the card, you're basically breaking even on a 9, but a 10, you're doing pretty well. And as you can see from the graph, a PSA 10 is doing bits. I mean, it is, you know, like I say, 87. You know, it did dip around about that just under $60 range over the past 6 months, so it's doing pretty well. Then when we look at the raw price of the card, it is starting to see some real big gains over the past couple of months. You know, with TCG Player and the average market price kind of going neck and neck, and then TCG Player, you know, breaking away a little bit. Now's a good time to pick up this Mewtwo. Beautiful card, relatively cheap. It's expensive if you try and, you know, open up a UPC to get these. This is going to be a good one. Moving on to Paldea Evolved, we were looking at illustration rares. Now, illustration rares throughout the Scarlet and Violet era have been doing very well. Some of them, in fact, have been overtaking special illustration rares, like we've seen with the Magikarp and the Groudon, right, from different sets. The Maushold is one from Paldea Evolved, which kind of, you know, took me by storm. You know, it just surprised me out of the gate. Now, there are some great illustration rares in Paldea Evolved, like the Magikarp, of course, that have gained good value, Tyranitar and so on and so forth. But this one just kind of snuck under the radar. Raw price, $11, $12. Nothing really to, you know, go crazy over. PSA 9, we look at $30. But look at the PSA 10 value of this card. There's only 52 of them, and it's over $200. And you can see the price of it, you know, over the past 6 months of the graded doing relatively well. We look at the raw price, though, it's starting to climb, right? We are starting to see a climb, especially on TCG Player, where it is breaking away compared to the rest of the market. You know, it was neck and neck most of the time, and then maybe over the last month or two, it then started to break away. So this might be a nice little pickup to get. Try and get it graded. See if you can try and get in a 10. But, you know, around $10 or so, $10 to $15, it's not a bad little card. Moving on to a slightly bigger card now, we're talking about the Pikachu illustration rare from 151. Now, 151 is getting, well, it's just getting more and more expensive. Every month that passes, it's getting more and more expensive. The pull rates of 151 are pretty good, but the Pikachu is a nice card, right? It is really nice. We're looking 25 on eBay, 30 on TCG Player, 31 on Card Market. PSA 10, $130. That's actually pretty good. And then PSA 9, you're pretty much losing money, right, at that point. But PSA 10 is definitely worth it. I mean, trying to go for it anyway. And the Pikachu is not that easy to pull. You know, we've opened up, obviously, a lot 151. This is still a beautiful card. Big fan favorite. Yes, we do have a reprint / restock coming in February of 151 with the new premium collection box that's coming. There will be a lot of additional 151 hitting the market, whether it be single cards, packs, you name it. There is going to be a lot, right? Yes, the market will absorb it, but it will have an impact, I think, on the single card prices. Sealed, probably not, in all honesty, but on the single card prices, we will see a dip. So keep that in mind, I think, moving forward. So when we look at the single card price of this, it has been moving upwards, along with the rest of 151 and the trend, where everything's starting to climb. Pikachu, doing bits, we can see it, $29. Back 6 months ago, it was around $18. So it is doing well, and it's both TCG Player and the market price that is going up together. It's not just TCG Player going off on its own, even though it is slightly breaking away. But overall, the Pikachu is a really good pickup. Keeping with illustration rares, we're on to Obsidian Flames. We have the Ninetales, one of my personal favorite Pokemon, and one of my favorite cards in the set. Probably is my favorite card in the set. Obsidian Flames actually getting more expensive. I know, it sounds weird, but Obsidian Flames booster boxes are trickling up in price. They're getting harder and harder to find. They're getting more and more expensive. Ninetales, we're looking between $16 to $18 raw for this one, but 156 in a PSA 10 with over 1,000 graded. A 9, yeah, you're kind of breaking even, but a 10, you're making big gains there. So yeah, this is a very good card. It might be tough to grade by the looks of things. There's only just over 1,000 of them graded in a 10. And even with the graded price, I mean, it did peak up here around about 175. Then it did dip to around 116, 114 even, and is now starting to bounce back up and doing relatively well. We look at the raw price for this. Again, it is shifting upwards. The market price and TCG Player matching each other over the 6 month period. Here we look around $17, $18. Was $8 6 months ago. So again, we're seeing big movements. Even the Charizard, we haven't really talked about it much, but the Charizard from this set has been climbing as well. So Obsidian Flames is making moves. Seal products going up. Seal cards are going up. Ninetales, $156 in a PSA 10. Big one. Then we're going into Paldean Fates, another set that's been making moves. Of course, everyone's talking about the Bubble Mew, but let's talk about the Gardevoir, right? The Gardevoir is one of the special illustration rares in the set. It's the third most expensive card. We saw the Charizard break $150 raw. We see the Mew break $300 raw, which is just absolute insanity. But I did call it. I did call it before it happened. So, pats on back for that one. But the Gardevoir, we're looking at $56 on eBay, $61 on TCG Player, and $70 on Card Market. Been a PSA 10, we're got $176, so a pretty good return on a PSA 10. And then PSA 9, yeah, you kind of get wrecked on PSA 9. So we're looking at the graded price is seeing serious gains. I mean, we look at this, 175, and it was about 120 6 months ago. So it's doing very well. And we saw the Mew, we saw the Charizard, we're seeing the trends shifting upwards with the special illustration rares in Paldean Fates. This is one of my favorite cards in the set. It's absolutely beautiful. Charizard's my favorite, but this one's up there. So this one actually dipped, and then it just had a really big return. 6 months ago, you look at around about $50 raw, both market and TCG Player, dropped below 40, and now has bounced back up to an all-time high. So overall, Gardevoir's doing really well. Like I say, Paldean Fates getting a little bit more expensive as well. ETPs are picking up in price. Over here in the UK, though, you can pick this up quite easily, as in like the card, but also packs, right? You can pick up Paldean Fates for about £40 an ETB, 45. So yeah, pretty good all around for Paldean Fates here. But the Gardevoir, pretty good. Then we're going on to Twilight Masquerade. We have the Hisuian Growlithe. We've got the Doggo coming in. Now the pairing itself has been doing well. Pairing has been climbing and has held and is now climbing from Twilight. Twilight's getting more expensive, even though we've had a price drop here in the UK. We can pick up a box for 110, but still, it is getting more expensive. And this is such a good boy, this one. So we're looking under $10 for this one. Nice cheap card, really. 64 in a PSA 10, which is pretty good. 9 again. It's not too bad actually in a 9, but not that great. So yes, this card has dropped recently from the PSA price, but it's starting to trickle upwards slightly. So it's heading towards an upwards trend, hopefully getting back to where it once was. But then when we look at the raw price for this one, it is relatively cheap. It's not that easy to pull. I mean, tough pull rates in Twilight Masquerade. Beautiful card. If you have the pairing, two of them together, absolutely incredible. Keep an eye out for this one. This one might be a little bit of a sleeper just because of how cheap it is and the fact that it has been falling. We've seen 6 months ago where the market price and TCG Player were nowhere near each other, and now they're pretty much neck and neck, which is always good to see. But yeah, very cheap card, great little pickup. And then finally today, we have the Gastly from Temporal Forces. This one had a bit of a buzz going around about it when it came out. A lot of people were hyped for it. I had a really weird spike in price and then it kind of sold properly. This card's had a bit of a journey. So we look at 25 on eBay, 30 on TCG Player, 25 on Card Market. Pretty average across the board there. 150 in a 10, very good. But then a 9, you get them wrecked. Just pretty standard. I kind of feel like PSA 9s now are just, might as well be not worthless, but a bit of a waste. Then we look at the graded price. I mean, it has dropped a little bit, you know, from its high, but it did bounce back from as low as nearly 100. So it's doing well. Yeah, it really is doing well. And we look at the raw price for this one as well. It is pretty much level where it was 6 months ago. Like I said, it did spike up. There was a lot of hype around this card, and then it sold nicely. Temporal is getting more expensive. Yeah, we're looking at things like 130, 140 box on TCG Player. Here in the UK, we're looking around 110, 115. So things are getting more expensive for Temporal. It's actually quite a tough card to pull. I mean, we've opened up a lot of Temporal. I think we may have only pulled like once. So yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful card. You know, if you're a fan of Gastly, Horner, and Gengar, this is a must-have. People love it. Good value now in a grade 10, you know, 150. Pretty good. It's a good one. So there you have it, guys. Those are some cards to pick up towards the end of this year. If you can get them in, you know, before Christmas, or, you know, just the end of the year, going into next year. These are great ones. This year's been incredible. You know, there's been some real big gains to be had from a lot of cards that we've went through here on the channel. You know, recently I saw that the Pikachu from Crown Zenith has absolutely boomed, the secret rare. You know, about a month ago, I was like, guys, pick it up for like $7, $8. No one's buying it. Look at it now, it's like $20. So, you know, some go up, you know, when we, you know, kind of predict correctly. And there are some, which I've said before, which will, you know, be good pickups, and they really haven't moved much. It's just the way the market goes. Singles always risky. Risky, risky, risky. I mean, sealed is king. I always say that, and I always believe in that. But there are some great cards to get good value if you get it graded in a 10. Of course, there's always a risk of getting it graded. It could come back a 9 and basically be worthless. Not worthless, but you're not going to make any gains on it. So for me, I think that, you know, keep an eye on the illustration rares. Yeah. Going into 2025, keep an eye on the illustration rares from across the board. They are, I think, little small golden tickets, basically. So yeah, I think they're pretty good, especially some of the older sets in Scarlet and Violet, Paldea Evolved, Obsidian, even Scarlet and Violet base. They're doing well. Same with Paradox, or even, you know, they're doing pretty well. So overall, illustration rares are a thumbs up, you know, from me. I'm clearly be keeping an eye on them going into 2025. But let me know down in the comments what are your thoughts and opinions on these cards. Can you think of any other great cards that you've seen making real big movements right now? I'm going to be covering a lot of stuff over the next few days regarding your overviews of this year in the market and singles and sealed and everything that's been going on. So make sure to stay tuned for that one. If you made this far in the video and you've enjoyed it, make sure to smash the like button and subscribe for more Pokemon content. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments about these cards, any other cards that you may think are really good pickups right now, because there's a whole ton of them. Can't cover them all, but just a small amount today. But that is it from me, guys, in today's video. If you want more Pokemon content, make sure to click the video on the screen. And of course, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You guys are legends, and I'll see you in the next one.